morning class. I hope that all of you are well and safe in your homes, inshallah. Lecture 29 of our course Signals and Systems is going to cover discrete time Fourier series or DTFS and properties of discrete time Fourier series. These topics cover Article 3.6 and 3.7 of our book Signals and Systems by Oppenheim, Bilski and Nawab. You were introduced the concept of Fourier analysis in the last lecture. Fourier analysis was described as a set of techniques which allow the frequency analysis of a signal by resolving the signal into its frequency components. We have used the analysis equation or the equation where we get A of k to observe these frequency components. We saw that A of k had infinite values depending upon the type of the signal we were observing. For a pure sinusoid, we saw that the signal possessed only one frequency component, which was present at both a positive frequency and a negative frequency. For synthesizing the signal or the synthesis equation, we saw that Fourier spectrum was an alternate way of describing the signal in time domain. Whenever all those frequency components are combined through the synthesis equation, they give us the same signal x of t. The information content in both the representations, the time domain representation and the synthesis equation representation is the same. Fourier spectra means that we were getting two kinds of spectrum when we were observing our spectra for the frequency spectrum through Fourier series. One was the magnitude spectrum, which was a plot of the magnitude of A of k versus frequency, and the other was phase spectrum, which was the plot of the phase of A of k versus frequency. Now the analysis equation and the synthesis equation can be explained through a simple prism example. When you were studying physics in your FSC, you must have seen that whenever a beam of white light passes through a glass prism, it is split into its constituent components. If you place a screen in front of the prism, each of these components occupies a separate space or forms a distinct line on that screen. All these colors, the constituent components, they had a different wavelength or a different frequency, and since these components were forming distinct lines, so the spectrum was termed as line spectrum. Similarly, for our continuous time Fourier series case, we saw that the spectrum was present at distinct frequencies and it was termed as the line spectrum. So this situation represents the analysis equation, the figure A, where the signal is broken down into its constituent frequencies. If we place another prism in front of this prism such that the beam of light after passing through it and being decomposed into its constituent colors is recombined and converges again to white light, this situation represents the synthesis equation in our case, where we split the signal into its constituent frequencies and then recombine that signal, those frequencies, recombine in fact those components A of k and multiply them by the frequency they possess and write our signal x of t. I told you that you have done trigonometric or used trigonometric Fourier series in your earlier courses, but for our course we'll be using the exponential Fourier series because it is more meaningful. We saw that for certain signals, in fact for most of the signals, an infinite number of sinusoids are required to synthesize the signal, and we try to limit it, to band limit the signal, and generally what happens is that whenever we truncate or we reduce the number of sinusoids to represent the signal, we observed a discontinuity, an offshoot at the point of discontinuity. So this is the last point in the summary for previous lecture, that a continuous time periodic signal with period t can be expressed as a sum of an infinite set of harmonically related sinusoids exponentials and a DC component through the Fourier series. In lecture 4 and 5 of our course, when we were discussing periodic and aperiodic signals, we discussed the case of discrete time sinusoids. And we saw that when were discrete time sinusoids periodic. So this slide or this discussion is the same discussion as was done then, but now the discussion is more focused towards exponentials rather than sinusoids. And we know that complex exponentials and sinusoids are related to each other through the Euler's formula. So we know that a discrete time signal is periodic with a period n if the signal has the same value after n samples. The fundamental period is the smallest value of this integer n for which the above equation holds, and fundamental frequency omega naught is given by 2 pi by n. Now if we look at the complex exponential e j 2 pi by n, this is periodic with a period n. But all the discrete time complex exponentials which are separated with this exponential by an integer multiple of 2 pi is periodic, because after every 2 pi we know sinusoids are periodic. So if we substitute k is equal to plus 1 or minus 1 or plus 2 or minus 2 and so forth, we'll get the same value for the signal. Which means that for this signal we have only n distinct values, and these n distinct values or n samples exists because we know that discrete time complex exponentials which differ in frequency by a multiple of 2 pi are identical. So when k is changed by any integer multiple of n, an identical sequence is generated. This is different from continuous time, in which the signals defined by a continuous exponential were different. We remember we said that every individual frequency for a continuous time exponential or a sinusoid is a different frequency. 0.1 Hertz is different from 0.11 Hertz, is different from 0.12 Hertz, or from 1.101 Hertz. All frequencies were different. But for discrete time signals, the frequencies are not distinct. Every frequency which is an integer multiple of 2 pi of the basic frequency is the same. So this property of complex exponential simplifies the Fourier series representation for discrete time signals, as you will see in the next slide. So as a consequence of the periodicity of complex exponential, the discrete time Fourier series pair is described over a time period capital N. The definitions are as given these in the question. The Fourier series coefficients A of k can be derived by multiplying the signal x of n by a suitable complex exponential and adding values for all the products and dividing it by capital N. So the Fourier series coefficients can be determined from this analysis equation. For the synthesis equation, x of n can be described in an alternate form as the coefficient A of k multiplied by a positive powered complex exponential. Now, since k is defined over a period, so k can take any values from 0 to n minus 1, or 1 to n, or 3 to n plus 2, and so forth. For each x of n, for each set of x of n, we'll take all the values which constitute a period. For example, if the period of the signal is 4, so we'll just take 4 values and we'll determine 4 values only. So the synthesis equation is termed as the discrete time Fourier series, DTFS, and the coefficients are termed as Fourier series coefficients. This periodicity is going to be explored in the examples to follow in the next slide. As the first example, we are going to determine the discrete time Fourier series for x of n is equal to sine 0.1 pi n. We will also be determining and sketching the amplitude and phase spectra. Now, from our previous lectures, it's lecture 27, which is, we remember that whenever we have a sinusoid or a sum of sinusoids, rather than determining coefficients a of k through the analysis equation, it is easy if we open the sinusoid through Euler's formula and compare coefficients with the synthesis equation. Although you can do both ways, but the later way, comparison through synthesis equation, is easier for me, and I hope it's easier for you as well. Before plotting the spectrum of the signal, the figure A shows a plot of the time domain signal. We define the signal to be periodic with a period capital N is equal to 20 samples. So this means that the signal will repeat its value after every 20th sample. So if we start our time period from n is equal to 0, at n is equal to 19, we have 20 samples, and the signal will repeat its value after n is equal to 20. If we are considering the range from minus 10 to plus 9, again we have 20 samples, and now this is how we are defining a period. Similarly, if we take the range from say minus 8 to plus 11, again we have 20 samples and all these 20 samples are distinct. So it is not necessary to take only the positive values of n or all negative values of n. Any 20 consecutive values will be distinct, and after the 20th sample the values will repeat themselves. The same is true for spectrum. Let's draw the magnitude spectrum. X of n was written in this form: 1 by 2j e raised to power j 0.1n and 1 by 2j e raised to power minus j 0.1 pi n. And we saw that this value is at 0.1 pi frequency and this value was at minus 1.1 pi frequency. So the magnitude was 1 by 2 or 0.5 for 0.1 pi, which is pi by 10, and minus 0.1 pi, which is minus pi by 10. These are the values we get. Now these values are plotted against frequencies omega. If we plot these values against sample number k, then after every 20th value, as we said, the spectrum will repeat itself. So we'll have after 2 pi, because the 20th value has a frequency of 2 pi, we'll have one value here and one value afterwards. Similarly, for the phase spectrum, this component had a phase of minus pi by 2 radians and this component had a phase of pi by 2 radians. So the phase spectrum is plotted versus omega, but we can plot this phase spectrum versus k as well. We see that also for discrete time Fourier series, the magnitude spectrum is even symmetric and the phase spectrum is odd symmetric. This is also a line spectrum. The difference between discrete time Fourier series spectrum and continuous time Fourier series spectrum is that the discrete time Fourier series spectrum is periodic with the same period as which the signal is periodic, which is capital N. As a next example, we'll be doing example 3.11 of our textbook, which shows a sum of sinusoids and a DC component. X of n is 1 plus sine 2 pi by n plus 3 cos 2 pi by n plus cos of 4 pi capital N plus pi by 2. We can see that all these signals are periodic with a period capital N. So we don't have to apply rules to see the resultant time period for a sum of sinusoids. Each of them had a different period. To recall what is the resultant period, you have to see lecture 4 and 5 of our course again. But this value of 1 represents a DC value, and x of n is a sum of this DC value along with a sum of 3 sinusoids. So for the solution, again we expand the signal using Euler's formula, and for each of these sinusoids we replace the expression by their corresponding Euler's sum. So for the sine 2 pi by n term, we get this term. For 3 cos 2 pi by n term, we get this term. And for the cos 4 pi by n term plus pi by 2 of phase, we get this term, and we can see that the pi by 2 phase is also included in the Euler's formula. Again, we'll be combining terms with the same frequency. So we know that this and this represent the same frequency or this and this is the same frequency 2 pi by n. So we'll be combining terms with frequency positive 2 pi by n and the terms with the frequency minus 2 pi by n, and then we have a second harmonic e raised to power j to 2 pi by n and the negative of second harmonic. Now when we compare, because it's a sum of sinusoids, so we'll be comparing it with the synthesis equation as real, and we'll see that the DC component or A naught expression is 1. The expression for A of 1, where the fundamental frequency is 2 pi by n, we get A1 is equal to 3 by 2 plus 1 by 2j. Similarly, A of minus 1 is 3 by 2 plus 1 by 2j. These are the fundamental frequency components, the positive frequency and the negative frequency. Similarly, for A2, we get, or for the second harmonic, 1 by 2j, and A minus 2 is minus 1 by 2j. Each of these components, the lower components, the frequency components, they represent a magnitude and phase, and for example, the A2 component, the magnitude is 1 by 2 and the phase is e j pi by 2 or pi by 2. For this component, the phase is minus pi by 2. For this component, you can determine phase through Cartesian to polar form conversion. So let's look at the spectrum of the signal. I have solved the values to determine magnitude and phase for the values of k ranging from minus 2 to plus 2. So these are the values we get for magnitude and these are the values we get for phase. I have expressed these values in terms of pi by dividing the resultant angle by pi, so that I can describe this angle in terms of pi. You don't have to. You can substitute the value of pi and write whatever radian value we get. So the magnitude plot is given by this figure. As we can see, at the value 0, we have a magnitude of 1. At the value 1, we have a magnitude of under root 10 by 2 at plus minus 1. Similarly, at the value of plus minus 2, we have a magnitude of 1 by 2. Your book has taken this situation and plotted it with respect to k, not the frequencies omega. So we can see that from, if we take this plot from minus 2 to plus 2, we get distinct values, but after every n samples, the set of pattern will repeat. So the value at n is the same value at k is equal to 0, and the values on the left side of k will come here, and the values on the positive side of the k, the rest of the values will come here. Similarly, when we plot phase, we can see that for k is equal to 0, the phase was 0, and then we had a phase of minus 0.1024 pi radians for k is equal to plus 1 and pi by 2 radians for k is equal to plus 2. And the phase spectrum is obviously odd symmetric, so for and since it's a real signal, so for the negative side of k we can plot the spectrum correspondingly. And you can observe that again the spectrum is such that the values repeat themselves after every n samples. You can also prove this by substituting values of k, varying values of k, for choosing any value of capital N and seeing whether the values repeat themselves or not, as I'll be doing in the next slide, and I'll be giving you a MATLAB expression to show you how can you plot these values and confirm whether the values do repeat themselves or not. In the previous two examples, we determined the Fourier series coefficients for a discrete time sinusoid and a discrete time sum of sinusoids. Instead of using the analysis equation, we used Euler's formula to express the sinusoid as a sum of exponentials and compared coefficients with the synthesis formulae. Now, this approach is good for sinusoids, but when we have other signals, we must use the analysis equation, as we will be doing in this example, which is example 3.12 of our book. So we are given a periodic signal with a period of capital N, and we have to determine Fourier series for this square wave. Now we see that although we can take the time period from 0 to capital N minus 1, which will make it n samples, it is easy and better if we take the time period in such a way that we have samples from minus n1 to plus n1 with us. This is the same approach we did when we were determining the continuous time Fourier series for the square wave. And we took the Fourier series expression for negative and positive cycle. So it is easier to solve. We can easily get a compact expression if we take the time period in such a way that we have samples on the negative time axis or negative n axis and positive n axis. To determine the Fourier series coefficients, we substitute the value of x of n in the analysis equation. So a of k is equal to 1 by n. The signal has a magnitude of plus 1 between the range n is equal to minus n1 to n is equal to capital N1. Now, if we look at this summation, we see that the lower limit of summation starts from minus n1. From our discrete time convolution examples, we remember that whenever we intend to sum a signal, it is easy and better if we sum it starting from a lower limit of 0 to some upper limit, because for this exponential we are going to use our sum, a geometric sum or sum of finite geometric series. So we'll change the limit of summation such that n plus capital N1 is equal to m. This implies that when n is equal to minus n1, our m is equal to 0, and when n is equal to capital N1, the m is 2n1. Since we have replaced n plus n1 by m, so this means small n will be equal to m minus n1. So we replace or substitute all the values in the above expression, and this is what we get. Now in this summation, since this summation is dependent on m only, so we can take this n1 term outside the summation sign, and in the next step this is what we do. Now for this expression, I apply the sum of finite geometric series, and this sum is equal to 1 minus e raised to the power minus jk by 2 pi n, and 1 minus the exponential raised to the power this sum plus 1, 2n1 plus 1. So whenever, now there's a trick involved at this step. Whenever we have an expression of the form 1 minus some negative exponential, what we do is we always take half value of that exponential out so that we can form a sine or a cosine term. So whenever we have either 1 added or 1 is subtracted with an exponential, we'll take half of that exponential out to come at a compact expression which is a cosine or a sine term. So for this complex exponential, the half would be dividing the power by 2. So this is what I do. So when I divide the power by 2 and I take it out, I take it common. So over here I'll get a positive power half exponential, and over here I'll get a negative power half exponential. And same is what I do with the denominator. I take half of this expression out, and I get a positive power exponential and I get a negative power exponential. So if I divide, just looking at these two terms, if I divide this expression by 2j and this expression by 2j, and so this will become a sinusoidal term and this will become a sinusoidal term. So this sinusoidal term is sine 2 pi k by n into 2n1 plus 1 by 2. And this sinusoidal term is sine pi k by n. Now focusing towards these exponentials, I solve it, separate them. So we can see that this is a positive exponential and this is a negative exponential. Both these exponentials cancel. In the next step, we can see that we are left with a e to the power minus j k pi by an exponential here and this exponential in the denominator. So both of them will cancel out again. Continuing from the last slide, as I said that the exponentials in the numerator and denominator cancelled, and the resultant expression of a of k comes to be a of k is equal to 1 by n sine 2 pi k by n into n1 plus 1 by 2 sine pi k by n. Now this expression exists for all values except k is equal to 0, plus minus n, plus minus 2n and so forth. Because for these values we'll have, for the value at k is equal to 0 or for value at k is equal to plus minus n, which is the period or twice the period of the cosine wave, we'll use a separate trick or separate technique to determine the value. Now why does the need arise is because when we substitute k is equal to 0 or any of these values, when I substitute k is equal to 0, we have an expression of the form sine 0 by sine 0, and which cannot be solved, and it must be solved by using L'Hopital rule. Similarly, if I substitute k is equal to plus minus n, what happens is we have ak is equal to 1 by n. I substitute small k by n. I get 1 by n sine 2 pi n1 plus 1 by 2 by sine pi, which is again 0 by 0. So whenever we get an expression of the form 0 by 0, we have to use L'Hopital rule to solve it. L'Hopital rule says that you differentiate both the numerator and the denominator and substitute limits, and the expression you get is the value you get. So I differentiate both the numerator and the denominator, and I get this expression for a of k. For this expression, I substitute limits of n, k is equal to plus n. I am not substituting the value k is equal to 0 because it was very straightforward. You can do it. I am using a slightly complex value, which is k is equal to n, so that you can substitute it and determine and see that all those values, whenever k is equal to plus n, minus n, plus 2n, minus 2n, will always get this value. So I substitute the value of k is equal to n and solve it, and I get 2n plus 1, 2n1 plus 1 by n into cos pi 2n1 plus 1 by cos pi. Now the value of cos pi cancels out in both numerator and denominator, and as a result I get 2n1 plus 1 by capital N. So at k is equal to 0, this is the value for a naught. Similarly, at k is equal to capital N, this is the value of a capital N. Otherwise, for all other values from 1 to n minus 1, we'll use this expression to determine the value of a of k. Let's plot the spectrum of the signal. So the value for coefficients a of k are listed as shown. A of k has this value for k is equal to 1 to n minus 1 and so forth, and k has this value, a of k has this value for k is equal to 0 plus minus n and so forth. So let's try to plot the spectrum given n1 is equal to 2 and capital N, which is the period, is equal to 10. So I substituted the values of k in these expressions and determine the value of a of k. So for a naught I used this value, 2 into 2 plus 1 is 5 by 10, which is half. And for the rest of the values I used this expression, and this table is formed. When I plot these values, this is the spectrum I get. I'll pause here for a while and just illustrate or elaborate that this spectrum is A of k. This is not the magnitude spectrum, this is not the phase spectrum. This is just a plot of values of A of k. You can, instead of A of k, plot the magnitude spectrum separately and phase spectrum separately, and that is what you're going to do as a practice. But I am just plotting for what your book has plotted versus k. You'll be plotting versus omega, and I've plotted these values. So I hope that the different colors are visible to you. So if we look at since the period is 10, so from 0 to 9 we'll have distinct values. So these are the values which are plotted for one cycle. Then afterwards the values repeat, which are shown as in the red color. So this is from 10 onwards we get the values for the next cycle. Similarly for minus 1, 0 to minus 9, where the values are distinct, we get this cycle. Similarly from minus 10 onwards we get another set of values which is the same as this. I have plotted these values with separate colors so that you know that I have taken 10 values over here. But again, you can take any number of any 10 values. For example, you can start from minus 3 to 6. We have 10 values and these values are distinct. You can take from minus 6 to 3 and these values are distinct, and so forth. So any capital N number of values will suffice. If we want to use the synthesis equation and write the signal, we know that in time domain the signal could be written as x of n is equal to 1, it has a value of 1 from minus 2 to 2, and it has a value of 0 for otherwise. And if I substitute the values in the synthesis equation, we can see that a of k is non-zero for k is equal to 0, 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. So I substitute the values and I get an alternate form for x of n, which is shown in the last line of this current slide. The MATLAB commands to determine the values are given in the slide. Also, I have given these commands to show you that the values indeed repeat themselves. So for say the first cycle where k was from 0 to 9, I have not used k is equal to determine k is equal to 0 value, because we remember it is determined from a different expression. So for if I vary k is equal to 1 to 9 and I substitute the values in the expression we get for a of k, these are the 10 values, the 9 values we get. Similarly, if k varies from 11 to 19, again the value at k is equal to 10 is determined from the other expression. We get the same set of values, which is a is equal to ak has the same values over here as well. You can try and solve all the previous two examples through using MATLAB and prove the concept as well. So as a practice, you're going to plot the magnitude and phase spectrum separately versus discrete frequency omega naught. because your book has plotted it versus k, and I have told you that a plot versus discrete frequency is always more meaningful for us as a communication engineer, as an electrical engineer. So you do it as a practice problem, because in the exams I might ask you to plot against digital frequency. Now we will be seeing the properties of discrete time Fourier series. The discrete time Fourier series observes the same properties as the continuous time Fourier series. There might be a slight difference when you view the result, the coefficients, because of the periodicity of the discrete time Fourier series. Otherwise, properties are the same. So we'll briefly and quickly discuss all these properties individually. So the first property is linearity, which says that if we x of n has a Fourier series coefficients a of k, and y of n has Fourier series coefficients b of k, and both of them are periodic with period n, then when you add these two discrete time signals and determine the Fourier series, the coefficients are simply multiplied by the constant through which they were multiplied in the time domain and added. The next property is time shift property, which says that if in the time domain the signal is shifted by n0 or delayed by n0 units, in the frequency domain we have a phase component added, which is e to the power minus jk 2 pi by n n0. The next is frequency shift property, which says that if the spectrum is shifted in the frequency domain by m number of units, in the time domain it is being multiplied by a complex exponential e jm 2 pi by n into n. The frequency shift property is sometimes also stated as if in the time domain you multiply by a complex exponential, in the frequency domain the spectrum is shifted. In the time shift property and the frequency shift property, we can observe that the sign of minus n0 is the same as minus n0 over here. But in the frequency shift property, if we shift towards right or delay the spectrum, in the time domain we have a positive power exponential being multiplied. Then the conjugation property, which says that if we conjugate the signal, the spectrum is flipped and complex conjugate is also taken. But I told you that conjugation, we do not determine the Fourier series for complex signals. So far we have always seen real signals. Then the time reversal property, which says that if in the time domain the signal is reversed, in the frequency domain the Fourier series coefficients are also reversed. Then we have the periodic convolution property, which says that if the signal is convolved, two signals are convolved, and the frequency domain the coefficients are multiplied and they are being multiplied with the period as well. Again, over here we can see that the term periodic convolution is used because in discrete time, since we say that the spectrum is periodic, so we'll be convolving the signals over one period only. Then we have the multiplication property, which says that if the signals are multiplied in the time domain, then their spectrum are convolved in the frequency domain. Finally, the conjugate symmetry summary of the signals. If x of n is real, the magnitude is even symmetric and the phase is odd symmetric. For real and even signals, the coefficients are real and even. For real and odd signals, ak is purely imaginary and odd. Over here, ak includes both the magnitude and the phase. It's not magnitude to ak. And even and odd decomposition of real signals. xe of n is the even part of x of n and xo of n is the odd part of xo of n. The final property is Parseval's property, Parseval's relation, which is going to be explained on the next slide. The final property is the Parseval's relation. Since we remember that the frequency domain representation of a signal is an equivalent form to the time domain representation, the power of a signal can be expressed in terms of its spectrum as well. The Parseval's theorem relates the power with respect to a time domain perspective and the frequency domain perspective. We can see that on the right side of the equation, n is varying over the time period. This is the only difference that this theorem has for discrete time Fourier series as compared to the continuous time Fourier series. In CTFS, we were adding values for all the AK components. So Parseval's relation states that the average power in a periodic signal equals the sum of average power in all of its harmonic components. So we can take the sum over any n consecutive values of k. As a final example of current lecture, let's solve example 3.14 of our book. This example uses a lot of discrete time Fourier series properties, and if we know how to apply these properties and how to solve this example, we can solve the rest of numerical problems given in the book. So suppose we are given the following facts about a signal x of n. The first fact is that the signal x of n is periodic with a period n is equal to 6. The second fact is summation of x of n from n0 to 5 is equal to 2. Now we see that summation is over an entire period because from n is equal to 0 to 5 we have 6 samples. So if we sum the signal over all the samples, if we sum all the samples, we have a result of 2. The third property, the fact states that x of n multiplied by minus 1 raised to the power n is equal to 1, and summation is varying from n is equal to 2 to n is equal to 7. Again we have 6 samples, so over this expression is also for an entire period. And the final expression is x of n has the minimum power per period among the set of signals satisfying these 3 conditions. So let us try to determine the sequence x of n. The first fact is simple, which is n is equal to 6. Now the second fact was that the sum of all the values of x of n is equal to 2. Now if we look at this expression, we know that this is the DC value, and the DC value is the value at k is equal to 0 or the A0 value. So if we substitute A0 in the analysis equation, we can see that we have simply a summation over all the values of the signal divided by n. Now we are given this expression and we know that this is equal to 2. So as a result, we'll have 1 by 6 into 2, which is 1 by 3. So we now have A0 is equal to 1 by 3. The next fact is if we add the signal and multiply like for one value we add and the next value subtract, and alternate addition and subtraction of the values, we get the summation equal to 1. Now this brings us to an important concept or an important discovery about even length sequences. If we have an even length sequence, the middle value has a feature. For example, we had a sequence for this signal, we had a period n is equal to 6, so the middle value is n is equal to 3. So if we take the value for a of 3 and we substitute 3 over here, because this 3 to the 6 and this 6 cancels, we get e raised to power minus j pi by n, which has a value of plus n for n is equal to 1, and which has a value of -1 for n is equal to odd, so it can be stated as -1 raised to the power n. So for this -1 raised to the power n, we have alternate adding, addition and subtraction of values. So whenever we have a term like this given, that one value is added and one value is subtracted, that means that they are talking about the middle value. So a3 is equal to 1 by n over 1 period xn into -1 to the power n, and as we said, the period can be any 6 samples, and we have an expression for this given. So this is 1 by 6 into 1, which is equal to 1 by 6. Now the fourth property states that given the first three conditions, x of n has the minimum power among all other signals. So for minimum power, it means that for the two components for which we have determined values, all the other components should be 0. So from Parseval's relation, we know that power is a sum of the AK coefficients, all the AK coefficients, sum of square of all AK coefficients. So if the other AK coefficients are 0, that means we have only A0 and A3 given with us. And for A0 and A3, we had the expression A0 was equal to 1 by 3 and A3 was equal to 1 by 6 into -1 to the power n. So again, if I draw a table and I determine values and vary n from 0 to 5, which is 1 over 1 period, and I vary values, determine values for x of n, they come out to be alternating between 1 by 2 and 1 by 6. So I've plotted x of n in this figure. For 0 to 5, we can observe distinct values, and again then the values start, for the next cycle they start repeating themselves, because the period of the signal was from 0 to 5. Again, I have used different colors just to signify that if I start my first period from 0 to 6, then the 0 to 5, the other values will start from 6 onwards, and over here 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 will constitute another cycle of the periodic signal. So we can summarize our concepts of Fourier series by saying that Fourier series is a technique which is used to represent periodic time domain signals by a discrete spectrum in the frequency domain. The spectrum for continuous time signals is aperiodic, where the spectrum for discrete time signals is periodic. Through viewing the spectrum, we can analyze the frequency content of the signal. We observed that for continuous time signals, the Fourier representation failed to provide uniform convergence in the vicinity of a discontinuity, which was the Gibbs effect. Two forms of Fourier series you have discussed or you have studied so far are the trigonometric and exponential form. In the trigonometric form, a time domain function is expressed in terms of sine and cosine waveforms. In the exponential form, the time domain function is expressed in terms of complex exponentials at both positive and negative frequencies. Both of these forms can be converted, a series in one form can be converted into the other form. Finally, you have to solve example 3.10 and two examples 3.13. Three of these examples we've already done. There's just one left. And problems 3.9 to 3.12, this I gave you in the last lecture as well. Now for discrete time signals, I have focused less on the Fourier series DTFS as compared for the continuous time signals, or as compared to CTFS, because you will see eventually when you will be studying DSP that for discrete time signals, discrete time Fourier series is very less often used. In fact, we use a standardized generalized formula which is known as the discrete Fourier transform. So that is why I want you guys to just focus on the examples and numericals from the book for this segment of our course. Thank you. I hope that you understood today's lecture. I wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.